show that tackles the big issues affecting the BVI and the rest of the Caribbean. Searches for answers to today's big questions and gives viewers a unique perspective on developing stories. Follow the big story with me, Kathy Richards, only on GTV. This show is brought to you by the National Bank of the Virgin Islands, Cyril B. Ramney Tertola Pier Park, NV Salon Spa Nail and Barbershop, HOV Medical, and Digicel. Sign up for Digicel Plus Home Light Bundles, faster internet, movies, and sports. This is The Big Story. I'm Kathy Richards. I want to thank you so much for joining us for this edition. Today we want to be having a discussion about something that we need to be paying key attention to. Those bites that got us going right now in this rainy season. In studio with me are the National Epidemiologist, Harmony Bruley Messiah, and we also have Mr. Lionel Michael, who is the Chief Environmental Health Officer. Before we get into it, I know you've been saying offset, eyes are tired, I'm tired. You guys have been having it really rough around this season.
Yes, it's been very challenging for us at this time.
Yeah, workloads and trying to get those words out and ensuring that this territory is
meeting with the media, interviews, talking to people.
Yeah.
I'm doing all of it.
Yeah, the community meetings, late night. So technically, our weekends are ours anymore. That's the best time to meet persons after hours as well. We try to meet with a lot of groups to increase awareness of what's currently occurring in the territory. So yeah, it's a very long days and longer nights.
All right. Well, let's start off by talking about why it's so necessary at this time to be holding these community meetings, going and meeting with groups, and having all these information sessions.
Well, to be quite honest, we've seen a decreased interest or awareness in all things health. And this is detrimental because health is multi-sectoral. Every single thing you can think about has a health impact. And right now, as you rightfully said, we're in the rainy season, we're seeing increased cases of dengue. Now, in the past, dengue may have been, more mild and not really something to be of note to be considered. But right now, we're seeing increased incidence in the Latin American and Caribbean countries with respect to dengue. And this is vitally important because dengue has a lot of drivers, and we're talking about environmental factors such as your household premises. You also have your individual factors like how you protect yourself. You also have like the biological factors in terms of your immune system. So we're trying to heighten awareness in the community about all of the drivers surrounding dengue so that people can take proactive actions right now in their lives and their community.
Okay, one thing I recall when we discussed having this discussion on this platform is during the period of COVID-19, with all the education and the push and the drives, there was also this note where persons were saying, you know what, dengue and malaria and these other mosquito-borne diseases or infections, I'm not quite sure which you guys rather call it, are of serious concerns. When you look back at statistics, there were so many across the Caribbean and around the world, so many deaths related to especially dengue. It was felt as though, not too much emphasis was being placed on dengue, but more on COVID. Now we're seeing that we really need to be paying so much more attention to dengue. Could you discuss why? Why and the effects it really had.
So during COVID was an unprecedented catastrophe, not just community-wise, but just on a global scale. It wasn't something that we were ready for in terms of having the robust healthcare and surveillance systems, and it really showed us the gaps and limitations that we needed to shore up on in light or in case we have another pandemic, which more than likely is possible given the way that pathogens are evolving and adapting. Now, during COVID, we did see quite a bit of dengue cases, yes, but in the first year of COVID, we had several lockdowns, right? Which meant that one, persons didn't really access health care like they usually would. And for men, we say this all the time, they will have to be coughing up blood for them to decide they're going to go to see a physician. So more than likely, we had more so the women that were presenting or having like the telemedicine. And when we would then answer follow-up questions with respect to who else in the household was sick, then they would say, well, yes, my kids or my husband or whoever else. And that is how we will find out there were actually other persons within the unit that were actually experiencing symptoms. But like you said, yes, a lot of emphasis was placed on COVID, but now we have to pivot because we are seeing some exponential increases in dengue cases across the region. And this is important because we travel a lot, and diseases and pathogens, which are like the microorganisms that affect us, that cause the symptoms, don't respect borders. So if you go to a country that has dengue, right, and you bring it back here, and you go home, and you have the Aedes aegypti mosquito around your domicile, what's going to happen is that you're going to infect the mosquito if it bites you, right? And this can then infect other household members. And that is essentially how it propagates and proliferates, and that's how we end up with outbreaks, right? So this is why we're really coming to the community and trying to highlight that what is happening here in the BVI it's not an unnatural occurrence. It's happening amongst the other countries as well. They're battling their own dengue outbreaks, but we have to be mindful as well as to what's occurring here so that we can protect ourselves and our loved ones. So that's why we're actually doing a lot of these meetings.
Well, I know we'll come to you in just a little bit. I see you taking copious notes.
No, I wanted to add to the community part
Yes.
it's important for us to get partnership in fighting dengue fever and the increase in mosquito presence in the communities. Partnership is important because we alone cannot fight dengue and mosquitoes. It requires the concerted effort of all community members, private sector, everybody join forces to try to defeat these mosquitoes and dengue fever. Because what has been happening is that dengue fever and mosquito control lend itself easily to active and vigorous community participation. And we want to provide the community with the necessary knowledge and skill to help us, and we can help them fight the mosquito situation.
Okay, so we'll come back to how do we do this, but most of all we need to understand how dengue affects us. What are the signs and symptoms that I may see which would lend it to us having a positive dengue assessment? How can it affect me health-wise? Could it be just like another common cold and it's okay, I'm going to run to the supermarket, get a quick something and I'm good? Is it like that or not?
Okay, so dengue is usually mild for the majority of the population. Okay? But what's mild for you might not be mild for me. Right? Now, the signs and symptoms associated with dengue is usually similar to influenza, the flu. So you get the fever, the loss of appetite, some persons report a sore throat, but with dengue you also may see things like rashes, right? We get abdominal pain, the muscle aches, the joint pains. Those are some of the symptoms that are usually very much so associated with dengue than with the flu. But dengue also has a very nasty side to it. Okay, you can end up with severe dengue or hemorrhagic dengue. Now, that is the dengue that can kill. That is a dengue that may require hospitalization. Right? And what we have been seeing lately, which is of concern to us, is an increase in persons reporting warning signs associated with severe dengue. And it's not the elderly, because usually you would see that in either the very young or the very old, because the immune systems have not either fully developed, or as you know, as you age, it becomes more compromised. Exactly. But we're seeing the warning signs and symptoms across a broad spectrum of age ranges, from 10 to 14 age group and the 20 to 34 age range. And those are our young adult populations.
Wow.
Right? So it is necessary that we pay particular attention to these signs and symptoms, especially amongst our youth. I was actually pretty surprised when I was reviewing the data and I saw that it was a lot more of the young being affected. But when you think about it, it makes sense, and Mr. Michael will get more into that based on how the mosquitoes behave. Mosquitoes are more active, at dawn and dusk. And it might be more so that the young people are more active around this particular time frame as well, right? So, but the warning signs, the signs of severe dengue, that was what was surprising to us, because you don't usually see warning signs being exhibited in the young population.
Wow, that definitely is cause for concern. And what about it among the population of persons whose immune system are compromised by chronic conditions?
Oh yes, there are certain risk factors that increase the likelihood of of the disease progressing into severe dengue. Mm-hmm. Like you certainly say, chronic diseases, your age, whether or not you're on certain medications. But when you look at the data, what we saw is that most of the cases were in the 10 to 14 age group. Usually they should not have chronic diseases. Mm-hmm. And then the 20 to 34 age group. Those should be our healthier populations. Mm-hmm. Yes, we had some cases in the elderly age range, but when it came to prevalence, mm-hmm. those were the two age ranges that were predominantly affected.
So every time we sit here to talk about health-related issues, and we're seeing the growing incidence of the younger population being affected. But Michael, we need to talk how we can prevent this, because the heart of our territory and our Caribbean region and the world at large is at risk. What will a few years from now look like when we would have had, so many of our younger population now when they're older grown, some gone, some inflicted with serious conditions. Mm-hmm. What our world would look like? How can we work to make sure that it looks beautiful?
Well, first of all, I think that I want to state that the mosquito that transmits dengue fever is a mosquito that can be controlled. Okay. And is a mosquito that is with us. We call it the lady of all mosquitoes. We call it a domesticated mosquito. It lives outside your house and inside. Mm. If you have water in your home, like some people store water because in a certain street water you're going to go. So they store up water in buckets and so on, and they may have flower vases in their home that use water. That mosquito will breed in those containers. It lives in the home or out of the home. The mosquito is particularly smart, and that has accounted for its long struggle with man over years because we are battling with this mosquito for a number of years. Ever since I know myself, we have been talking about Aedes aegypti mosquito. Yellow fever back in the day. It is said that during the Spanish-American War, that the Aedes aegypti mosquito and its diseases kill more people than bullets and bayonets, because people exposed to this mosquito and its diseases and so on. Now, in these times, we have the mosquito capable, very capable and efficient in transmitting diseases. As Hamdi mentioned, if you have dengue, if a person have dengue, if you suspect you may have dengue by the symptoms as outlined, the first thing you should try to do is protect yourself, seek medical attention and so on. I'm going to get into the medical side, but protect yourself so that other mosquitoes would not bite you. Because if other mosquitoes bite you, those mosquitoes that bite you will pick up the virus from you. Then they may bite your sister, your mother, your child, your nieces, your uncles, your grandchildren, your husband, and so on. Everybody in the household, one mosquito can infect the entire household. One. And we're talking about hundreds and thousands of mosquitoes in a community. So that is why we need the community to assist us, and we assist in the community. It's a symbiotic relationship.
If I may interject here, I just want to make sure that we get this really clear. So we say that dengue is transmitted mainly by the
Aedes aegypti mosquito.
The fancy word. All right? But if another type of mosquito bites you, they can pick up
No.
the virus. So only the Aedes aegypti
mosquito.
Oh, okay.
And it's only the female mosquito that bites.
Yeah.
Okay, we're very infectious.
Right? The female mosquito bites because it requires blood of human beings, and it requires blood to fertilize the eggs until there's eggs, because the lifespan of Aedes aegypti mosquito is what? About a month, right? And during that period, it can lay 300 to 700 eggs. One mosquito. And so the mosquito can survive long periods without. Generally, it requires water. But in times of drought, it can lay eggs, and the eggs can stay there in containers, about just there, waiting for water.
Oh, wow.
Can stay almost a year.
Wow, never heard of that
so
part
it's
of
a drought. So that's why we talk about climate change. The mosquito can live about a month. The life cycle is about what? 7 to 13 days. From egg to the adult. Egg, larva, pupa, adult. Right? So it takes about 7 to 13 days. But with the climate change situation occurring and the climate variability that is happening, the incubation period for these mosquitoes decrease. And so they hatch in a shorter time. They lay eggs quickly and faster. So climate change, not only the hurricanes and the winds, but also the impact and vectors and the spread of vector-borne diseases and the proliferation of the mosquito.
Correct.
How you know it's the Aedes aegypti mosquito? You will observe a black mosquito with white stripes, black and white. You wonder if very few occasions black and white get together.
I believe that part. But you would like to interject there a little bit.
Yes. Before Mr. Michael went on to discuss the appearance of the mosquitoes, he's very right about the impact of climate change, and not just on the behavior of the mosquito, but also on the trajectory of the diseases. What we're seeing is that the climate change has a significant impact on health in general. Now, specifically for dengue, what we're actually seeing is the expansion of the mosquito into territories and areas that it would not normally be found. So, because as it requires a certain temperature in order to thrive. So once we see that global temperatures start to increase and surface temperatures start to increase, then that means that there are more areas now that the mosquito can actually infiltrate and reproduce and pretty much harass mankind. And that is what we're seeing. We're also seeing an increase in dengue incidents. That means the number of new cases of dengue just globally because of the expansion of the mosquito into uncharted territory. And that is something we have to also be very, very mindful of, because BVI, we have peaks, we have seasonal variation when it comes to when we see dengue cases. For example, we will start to see it increase like late, like June, and it will see a spike. It will start to spike up around August, September, and then we'll start to see that lull into the October, November months, and then late January, February, March, we'll also see increases. But the concern is with the climate change, is that going to be a steady state now instead of us having the highs and lows? Are we just going to have year-round significantly high numbers of dengue? So, and this is why, again, we do need the community to participate, because it's prevention rather than cure. The healthcare sector will not be able to deal with, especially if we are going to see significantly higher numbers of severe dengue, they're not going to be able to deal with those cases on top of everything else we also see in the territory.
Cause for concern. And cause for us to
Call to
want
action.
to call to action. And this just spiked my brain to the evolution of time. We're back in the Stone Age, and this is how things has evolved, and we're seeing that evolution to continue. But tell me.
Yeah, and you're very much right. Pathogens evolve, right? And that adaptability is part of how they survive. Sometimes we don't think of these microorganisms as living, but they are living organisms. Some of them respire, they reproduce, they respond to stimuli. All right. So if he's infected, right, the mosquito is a living organism. So he has the virus in his body. This living organism is going to bite him, and he's going to take that virus into its body, right, where that virus has its own agenda, because it does need a host. So it's going to replicate, and when it gets you now, the mosquito unknowingly is going to pump that virus into you.
Yeah.
Right? So even though we have our own agenda with respect to how we need to live and grow and thrive and what's not, they have their own agenda too. And sometimes when we talk to people, because Mr. Michael likes to say, "You're infecting my mosquitoes," and they're like, "What?" They get so offended. But it is true. You are infecting the mosquitoes, because the mosquitoes some of them are actually like empty vessels, and you're just filling them with the virus.
When you take a blood meal, you need a blood meal to lay eggs.
Yeah. So let's stop them. Tell us how.
So the Aedes aegypti mosquito, you would know it's one by the stripes I mentioned and the color. You also know it's one because the mosquito is very persistent in trying to bite you. Around your head, ear, then it dart down to your wrist.
That's what it sings. He sings.
Yes,
That's what it
and around your ankles and so on. Right? So we're looking about the Aedes aegypti mosquito is a really bad mosquito there, really bad one that transmits the dengue fever. We have other mosquitoes in the BVI that people are complaining about. We call them the nuisance mosquitoes. All they do, they bite and get blood and go and lay eggs. They stick on you. You can't get them off. They just
and leave that little bump.
They just swarm you, right? And those come from a lot of water settled on the ground in grass and bushes and wetlands and so on, some wet swamp areas and so on. But the Aedes aegypti mosquito is around your home, around our homes, in barrels, in drums, in cisterns. They may breed in the spouting. They may breed in the gallon bottles that people use to water their garden. They fill all these gallon bottles with water, 5 gallon bottles with water. They don't cover them. They don't put the cork back in the bottles. The mosquitoes breed in these containers. You may change some kind of fixture in your house, a toilet bowl, a bathtub. You put it outside. You don't call solid waste, and you collect water, and mosquitoes will breed in them. that particular mosquito will breed in them and create problems for us. And so the mosquito is a persistent biter. When the mosquito around our home lay eggs, you don't put them in one container. So when the officers go around to inspect, that's why we have officers that inspect premises, that do environmental control through inspection of premises, of people's premises, and they are to be want the cooperation of the public and the householders, and in allowing the officers and carry out the officers' instructions, because the mosquito will lay eggs in drums, in barrels, in any way you find water, in
Stagnant water.
in
Tires.
in toilet bowls, in bathtubs, in cans, in flower vases, around the home and so on. Old fridges that just throw about the place. General litter around your home will breed, that mosquito will breed and proliferate and cause problems. And so therefore, that's how you know you're dealing with the Aedes aegypti mosquito, and you want the community to clean up around their home. Okay. We would deal with the other type of nuisance mosquitoes because we expect the community to go in, except for those mosquitoes that breed in septic tanks. Septic tanks that are cracked and leaking and so on. Some mosquitoes will find their way in that, and again, some of them that breed in septic tank may transmit West Nile virus. You may have heard that in the news recently in the US. But we want people to really control the mosquito around the homes, and there's a lot the community can do to help reduce the presence of Aedes aegypti mosquito. Because if one household clean up their premises and the other do not do that, the mosquito can move 200 meters from one home to the next, something up to 400 meters. So it's important that everybody join in a partnership, come together and clean up the surroundings, right? Cover their water containers, especially people who live in areas that the water is maybe not so reliable, and they have to store water in their bathroom in buckets and bottles and so on, and other containers. Make sure you cover them properly so the mosquitoes don't get access, because without water, the mosquito would not move from the egg, the pupa, the egg, the larva, the pupa, and adult stage. Okay. You must have water.
For some people, they think when they see, we're doing fogging in this area, or we're doing fogging in that area, they're of the opinion that fogging will get rid of, even if they got stagnant water around the place, it will help get rid of that. Is that a myth or fact?
The fogging helps to reduce the number of adult mosquito, the one that bites, the adult stage of the mosquito.
Okay.
Right? If you have a lot of mosquitoes biting people, we can come in and fog, and that will last a couple of days. But if the breeding place exists and persists, they will come back at you within 7 to 13 days.
Oh, wow.
So therefore, what we try to do in the Environmental Health Division, and what our approach is, that we will go to area first and we will assess the area. If it's possible, if it's Skin Garden Bay, whatever area it is, we'll assess the area for mosquito breeding population in all the stages, and we will eliminate those breeding sites, treat the guts and the ponds and the drains and so on, and householders' containers, and then we will move into the fogging.
Okay. Right?
But given the situation now, with a lot of rain we have been getting for the year so far, we have to fog sometimes without doing the assessment. Right? It's not the best thing, but at least we bring some temporary relief to people. Right? Some temporary relief. Yeah. Right? So that's what we try to do.
We tend not to rely just on fogging. That is usually maybe a downstream approach, right? Because fogging also has unintended consequences at the ecological and even agricultural level. Fogging too often can actually affect like our natural pollinators, like the bees, and also some of our natural mosquito predators that helps to actually keep the mosquito populations to a certain level naturally. And then you also have to think about resistance, right? Insecticide resistance, because if you use insecticides too often, then the mosquitoes become resistant to it, and that is a whole other set of problems. the best approach is actually prevention, the source reduction at the household level. And a lot of people think, when you talk to them, it's supposed to be the responsibility of the state. There are 30,000 people roughly in the BVI. Between public health and environmental health, we probably come up to like 30-something people, if that much. 30 versus 30,000 people.
One per thousand.
We cannot go to every single household and walk around your house and tell you what it is that you need to do. I think by this time, because we've been talking about dengue a lot, persons know that there are key things that they have to do. So usually when a person presents to a medical provider with the signs and symptoms, fever, abdominal pain, rashes, muscle aches, joint pains, headache, eye pains, right? The doctor will either diagnose them clinically based on their symptoms, but really preferably they're supposed to take a sample and send it to the lab so they can have confirmation that this is dengue, all right? Ideally, we would like the physicians to do dengue, Zika, chikungunya, because we've been seeing also some increases in the LAC countries, right? So once they get the diagnosis, the physicians are supposed to report this to public health in accordance with the Infectious Disease 2013 Act. They are mandated to report. If we don't get that report from the physician, then we don't know that there's dengue circulating within the community. We don't know where the dengue cases are, and then environmental will not know which communities they need to target. And this is why reporting is so important, right? It's not a matter of confidentiality, right? Because persons have concerns about that, right? But Ministry of Health is the hub, the central database of all things health related, right? We're not there to exploit your information. We're there, and to be quite honest, we don't really care at name-wise, right, what it is that you have. Because what we want to do, fine, you have dengue, Miss Sally, right? We just need to be looking at demographics and what's not to see how best we can cater our messaging and what we need to do to prevent other persons from getting the disease. Because when we do our analysis, we remove all identifiers, and we're not here to spread your business around the territory. We just need to know what is happening on the ground level so that we can implement the accurate, timely, and proactive measures.
Okay. All right.
The control measures we emphasize, as we mentioned, the source reduction around the home, and that falls under physical control, environmental control, work with solid waste, work with water and sewage, work with public works department. There's a multi-sectoral approach, town and country planning. You build a house, you have to gauze off the down pipe, the overflow pipes, and so on. So it's a multi-sectoral action and approach to controlling mosquitoes. At the household level, the mechanical control, the screens, people put under the windows and the doors and so on to prevent mosquitoes coming to their properties and keep their door closed and so on. The whole question of the cultural control, people have certain cultural habits that they're concerned about, and we try to fit our control measure into those kind of behaviors and practices. The personal control, the long sleeves, the clothes that you wear, long sleeve, long pants, and so on, to protect you from mosquito bites. And the biological control, we have been giving out some guppies. People come to our department for guppies, the fish, small little fish, to put in their water containers and help control the larval population. But more importantly, people should protect those water containers by putting gauze, wire mesh over the downspout and the overflow pipe from the tanker system. And the other issue is the chemical control. We have the larvicide, we have adulticide, put things in water containers, put things in stagnant water, in guts and ponds, and they stay there for a long time, help control the larva, what we call the wigglers, and the different stages of mosquito growth. And therefore, we want the public to know that we are out there from the government side, but we cannot do it alone, and to do it alone would be foolhardy. Because as we say, we go and fog a place today, and last for a couple of days, or even a week, then the mosquito is back at you. Then people say, oh, that fog truck doesn't work, and so on. But it works in combination with a number of factors, right? And it's important that people be with us, because you may see us fogging Puzzle, and you say, you all don't come to Kingston yet, or Parky the Bay yet. But we have information on the mosquito infestation level in Puzzle, in Kengarni Bay, in Lower State, in Seacoast Bay, and Parky the Bay, and so on. And we make a decision that we're going to focus in the area. Plus, coupled with what dengue cases may be present in these areas. And so we target our programs, our efforts in these areas to reduce and eliminate the mosquito population.
All right, I think this is a whole lot of information that we need to swallow. Whether or not it is too much, we need to swallow it, because like you would have alluded to, how times are evolving, and so are these vectors you call them, right? I got a few words going on. Yeah, so we need to pay attention. Harmony, Lionel, I want to thank you so much for taking time out to come and share with us. I know that your weekends are not yours. Well, welcome to the world. But thank you for going out there and making sure that we keep our territory safe. I'm really sad to know that at this stage we're seeing a younger population, that prime population coming down with the closer signs of a severe infection. So we have every reason to take the necessary precautions to eliminate this or reduce this significantly. Do what you must so that we can continue to live a beautiful life here in these Virgin Islands, in the Caribbean, and the world at large. I'm Kathy Richards. Thank you so much for joining us for this edition of The Big Story.
We know that where you choose to bank matters, and it is your vote on what your funds do in strengthening our community. As your official Bank of Paradise, we invest and support the lifeblood of our economy by helping in the realization of personal goals for homeownership, education, and entrepreneurial visions, which support small businesses. We make it our place to connect with persons and worthy causes, and we have been doing so for more than 30 years. Where your money goes and what your dollars empower are your choice. And we thank you for choosing us, a bank that gives where it matters the most, for you, for our community, and a happier tomorrow. The National Bank of the Virgin Islands.
Are you searching for new home decor items that reflect the season's latest trends? Look no further than Right Way Home. From cushion sets to decorative vases, we have unique pieces to suit every style and budget. Discover your right find at the right price, only at Right Way Home and Right Way Stores.